Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of What's Hot with Sea Tranquility. That's right, it's Wednesday. New album review day today. And of course, we have come to the moment you've all been waiting for. Porcupine Tree, brand new. Everybody's got their copies. Eric, you don't have a copy yet, Eric?
I'm still streaming. I'm waiting for Ken.
Gotcha. Closure continuation.
Even.
Oh, he's got the copy.
Nice.
Where's the 8-track? Where's the download printout? You got to have one of everything, right, Anthony?
Is it still sealed?
No, I opened it.
Oh, okay. So in the house today, of course, I'm sure you recognize all these folks from either In the Prog Seat or For Fusion Friday. We've got Anthony Ferraro, we've got Eric Porter and Stephen Reid. We're here to talk about the brand new Porcupine Tree album, which is a long time coming. How many years since the last one, guys, exactly?
2009.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been quite a long time. So in that span of time.
It's all Steven's fault.
All Steven's fault, not just Steven. Mr. Wilson has been busy, right? He hasn't gone away. He's been doing all these really good, well, mostly really good solo albums. Depends on who you ask, right? But
Gavin's been touring with King Crimson.
Yep. Gavin's been touring. So they've all kept busy, but they haven't done anything together. So
not that we knew of.
Not that we knew of, right? Behind the scenes.
They were doing things behind the scenes, and Steven poo-pooed every reunion rumor. Nah, I'm done. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. And then it just kind of popped out. It's like, oh, we got a new album coming out. We're like, really? Okay. So now that it's out and they're on tour, right? They're playing lots of big places and everything like that. So the CD just dropped, the album just dropped. I think there's all sorts of different versions coming out, double LP, and there's all sorts of configurations. There's also like a deluxe CD, which has some bonus tracks. I have the single CD version on Sony and Music for Nations. Steven's got, I guess, the deluxe over there. So, Anthony, what is your initial reactions to this?
Well, Porcupine Tree is a band that I kind of came late to the table. I didn't discover them until about 2005 after Deadwing was released. But actually, the first album I heard from them that I really enjoyed was Parts of Stupid Dream. And then Fear of a Blank Planet was released, and then I was full tilt. I went bought that, saw the tour, bought all the back catalog, and then bought The Incident. Didn't go see that tour because the venue they were playing at was not my cup of tea. It was in the Electric Factory in Philly, and it's like a garage. But we've gone close to 14 years without a record. A lot of these songs were written, I think, in between like 2012, 2015, 2017. Do we call it Porcupine Tree or do we call it Porcupine 3? I mean, that's the question. I mean, you don't have John Wesley, who was a touring guitar player, who played on, who did some of the backing vocals on some of the previous albums in Absentia, Deadwing, Fear, and The Incident. And then we have Colin Edwin, the bass player. They haven't talked to in years. So Steven Wilson does all the bass duties, and he's a great bass player, but it just kind of feels weird. It really does. But as a whole, I think the album's fantastic. Chimera's Wreck, the last track, has entered my top 5 all-time Porcupine Tree songs. Harridan kind of opens the album, showing that Steven Wilson can play the bass, has some cool licks. Gavin is a machine on the first track. And I'm going to say Barbieri was missed. Adam Holtzman, who was Steven Wilson's touring, who was in Steven Wilson's solo band on the keys, great keyboard player, but he's not a Richard Barbieri. Barbieri's soundscapes on this album are phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, cool. Eric, what your opinions so far?
Well, kind of with what Anthony said, I came in Signify, like, what is that, 96, 97. That was the first.
Yeah, you came in early.
That's the first thing I ever had. So I kind of went through because they had those different changes. In Absentia got heavier. I got to see them at Nearfest in 2001. And then I saw, same tour as you did, Anthony, I saw Fear of a Blank Planet. I think with this one, I've gotten probably 6 or 7 listens in, and I have to agree with you, Anthony, that Barbieri's all over this. And I really, the thing that's happening with me, and I'm interested to hear what you guys think, is it sounds like Porcupine Tree. I love the atmosphere of this record, but nothing's hitting me like a Blackest Eyes or Halo or Shallow. Like there was a lot of songs that immediately grabbed me as I followed them through their career. And I've listened to this about 5 or 6 times, and I'm really liking it as I listen to it. But then let's say I put it away and I'm listening to a couple other things. I go back and I'm like, stuff isn't sticking with me. As soon as I put it on, I'm like, okay, you know, I don't think this is going to disappoint Porcupine Tree fans at all. It definitely sounds like Porcupine Tree. So for me, I don't know if I need more listens or there's just something missing and I'm not sure what it is. The songs so far just have not stuck with me. But I like it when I'm listening to it. I'm like, songs are good. And like you said, I think Barbieri is kind of the secret weapon here. I think he really stands out on this record. And like you said, Gavin's incredible. Wilson, I followed his solo career too. And honestly, I think the best thing he's ever done is the Raven, Raven That Refused to Sing. That's my favorite, whether it's Wilson or Porcupine Tree. I love that band he had. I loved that record. I still listen to that record pretty often. That's probably the one I go to the most. But like I said, I'm really liking it. It's just, I just feel like when I step away from it, there's not that song or songs that just sticks with me. And so it's definitely, if you're a Porcupine Tree fan, I think this is one you're going to get. And then time will tell. Maybe that's something where this is a grower. And
yeah, I mean, because we haven't had it that long. Still,
right.
It's pretty soon.
And maybe that it is very dense. It's got a ton of atmosphere in this record. And it's, you know, they're not giving you something you haven't. This isn't going to be like, oh, what am I listening to? This is Porcupine Tree. It's going to bring you back. I mean, there was a couple, I'll just be quick, but I think, I know you mentioned Chimera's Wreck, Anthony. I'm trying to think of the one, like, he has those nice ballad kind of haunting things like Of the New Day and Dignity. They have that Porcupine Tree sound. And I think Herd Culling kind of reminded me of an In Absentia era track.
Now you see, I was thinking that kind of reminded me of that could have been on Insurrentes, his first solo, because the beginning is very drony. And then like the parts of the chorus are very like anger. He's like angry and menacing, and then at the end he's got that beautiful little chorus at the end. It's like he kind of like, hey, I'm pissed off, and hey, here's a little beautiful little chorus here at the end.
All right, fair.
Yeah, I kind of think that the curveball here is that there isn't one. That's what struck me on first listen, is that you go through the whole catalogue of this band, and there's a point of difference from album to album. Yeah, you know, there's a few you think, well, those two are clearly back to back because you hear the elements of this one moving into that one. But there's a point of difference, I think, between all of the albums. And then I've come to this one, and it sounds like Porcupine Tree. Does that make sense? And that is not a negative. I love this band.
Yep.
You know, so
Stephen, I think this is the album that should have followed Fear. It would have made more sense. It was kind of like the direction, and then Stephen felt like he had to do this one side epic that really wasn't an epic. It was a bunch of themes thrown in together. But this album feels like it would have followed up Fear perfectly because of the soundscapes. Because Barbieri's soundscapes on Fear are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and he's, as you mentioned, he's phenomenal on this.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that it does, although they are now a 3-piece, this definitely feels like an album by a band.
Yeah.
You know, yes, they all get moments to shine. I mean, Gav's work on Harridan it's bonkers. It's absolutely out of this world. But it's not just there for show. I mean, he's a drummer that could just sit you down and say, you know what, just listen to me for 2 hours. I'd be a happy lad. You know, I would pay to see that. But that's not what he does in this song. He's playing for this song. It just so happens that something's been written there that, you know, so you can say to him, go do your thing. And he goes and does his thing. As you go through the album, it's interesting because I felt very much what Eric said, that the way that it seems to work with me is it's taken, I've maybe had a little head start because I would being in the UK, I would physical product a little bit ahead of you guys. And I found when I listened to the tracks that were released before the physical came out, I was kind of like, I like it, but I need it to do that to me, and it hasn't. And then
but if you put it on the system, I was that way too with the YouTube.
Yeah,
but then when I heard it on in my car stereo, it was like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, putting it on through my proper system, it comes alive. But it hasn't really. I've been a little surprised by the absolute universal, not just acclaim. I mean, it's been absolutely lauded. And right now, and we're very early in the game here, very early, you know, and the best albums are the ones that you listen to and you think, yeah, okay. And then 6 months later, you go, oh, okay. You know, they're the best albums, I think. They're the ones that stay with you in the long term. The ones that hit you right out the box. You tend to sometimes go back to them a couple of years later and you go, oh, well, why was I so excited?
Yeah.
To me, I am liking it more and more and more as I go along. And I'm pleased that everyone's liking it because hopefully we're going to get more. Hopefully it will enthuse the guys to stay together and work together. I haven't quite had that initial boom. This is the album. It would rank probably in my top 3 albums, maybe top 4 albums from the band. If I gave it some thought, I don't know if it would quite even do that. But that's not, I mean, this band are up here for me. So
that just shows you the strength of their catalog.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's people who are kind of going, it's the best thing they've ever done. And I'm like, wow, that's a really, really big statement at this stage. But
after a week or two, right? Yeah, it's like,
is just so damn good. First off, I'm delighted to have an album by them because I didn't think we would.
No.
So, you know, there has been quite a lot of activity with some kind of, you know, remixes and retro releases and live stuff that's come out that kind of made you think, okay, something,
yeah,
you know, and then this hit. So yeah, I'm delighted to have it. I'm delighted that it's really good. I'm not quite at that stage that most people seem to be, where they're kind of going, wow, my world has changed. My world has improved because I've got another great album by a band I love, but it's not made me go, wow. And it's maybe because I've just kind of gone, okay, this one kind of could fit on that album. This one could kind of fit on this album. There's a little bit of Wilson solo in here. I mean, I'm lucky to have this thing, right? This thing has landed in the UK. So I've got the bonus tracks. I put them all on the main album. I prefer them over a couple that are on the album. The bonus tracks are great. The bonus tracks are absolutely brilliant. What's on the album?
Of course.
You know?
Opeth did that with Sorceress, where they put the 2 bonus tracks on the second disc, and they were like better than half the songs on the other disc.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure
they do nowadays.
they don't work in the flow and all that kind of stuff. They're bloody great. Get them on the album and they'll fit.
That means I got to spring for the deluxe edition now, don't I, Stephen?
Of course you do, absolutely. And the book's beautiful, and you know, so you know you need this. You know you want it, don't you? I'm not on commission. I was also very lucky because I was one of the ones that had this land in mind.
I mean, let's face it. Does this remind you of that David Bowie cover a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I've got to be honest.
Not real creative here.
There is a theme here in the book. Okay.
Oh, don't be showing me that.
Every page has got this. I mean, there is some writing on them and things, and there is some text, but every page is, and I know it's the point, every page has got this big white squeeze.
Yeah.
So the photos that bad, you can give me some full photographs, please. Do you know what I mean? Every single one. Here we go, there's some text. So yeah, I mean, it's beautiful and I love it. And I've got the 5.1, which I haven't really spent an awful lot of time with because I've just been getting to know the album first before I move on to that. And the bonus tracks are excellent. The instrumental version of the album is great fun. The booklet, yeah, well.
Yeah, I've kind of stayed away from the instrument. I've stayed away from the extra tracks because I want to hear them. I don't want to hear them on YouTube. I want to hear them. So I'll wait till Ken gets the deluxe and, they'll get more of my money.
I think they're great. I really do. I think the bonus tracks are absolutely top notch, and I'm a little disappointed, especially Population 3. That's the instrumental one that's on the bonus disc.
Okay.
I'm absolutely loving that. It's a bit more sharp, it's a bit more incisive, it's a bit more to the point. maybe that's, now that I'm saying it, maybe my issue why it's not clicked quite in that way. There's not a huge amount of urgency on the album. So,
It's kind of like the extra tracks that came with the In Absentia documentary.
Yeah.
I mean, Drown With Me is a killer song. And you're like, how did that not make this?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. I've maybe struck on the own issue that I couldn't find. Even the heavier songs and the more aggressive songs and the ones that have got a bit of bark and bite to them, nothing's really kind of driving the album along and kind of saying, here's your point that you think, okay, right, I'm in now, I'm in. It all kind of segues and moves and moods and atmospheres. So maybe, well, in 6 months' time, maybe I'll be looking at this going, what was I talking about? I usually do.
Well, it is what? 1 in the morning your time? Or
Well, it's later than that now. Let's not go into it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of feeling the same way as all you guys are. I am really enjoying it, but for me, for us here in the States, it's only been out a really short time. So even though I've listened to it a bunch over the last week, I feel like this is probably going to take weeks and maybe even months to fully digest all that's going on here. I like what I'm hearing, but is this a 5 out of 5 star album of the year release? Not today for me, it isn't. Is it a solid, 4 out of 5? I think so. But the problem is, this band has such a great catalog with so many great albums. And I want to bring up something that Eric was saying before. It's like, he's waiting for something to really grab him and say, all right, I'm completely hooked now. And I think for me personally, I've gotten so used to over the last bunch of Porcupine Tree releases that they usually have a lot of hard hitting songs in their repertoire. And I'm finding I like the heavier tracks on here a lot, and the mellower tracks, I like them, but they haven't really grabbed me yet. Like, I think Harridan is terrific. When he starts in that heavy riffing on that song, I'm like, there we go. That's grabbing me. That song is.
And then you have that breakdown, Pete, where Barbieri comes in. It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah. Harridan really works for me. That's my favorite song on the album. And, unfortunately, it's the first song on the album, right? So I'm still waiting for the rest of it to really grab me. But I think Rat's Return is a lot of fun. Dignity has some great moments. And I think Chimera's Wreck is terrific. So for me, kind of like the bookends of the album is the strongest parts. And then I'm waiting for everything else in the middle to really hit me. But individual performances, though, I mean, Gavin sounds great, as always. Steven's vocals are fantastic, as always. He's not the best singer in the world, but he is so effective at what he does. I'm liking the guitar work, and Barbieri is doing all the right stuff that he normally does. So sonically, everything's working here. I think it's just that I'm personally going to need more time for all the riches of this album to really reveal themselves. They are. Each time I listen to this, I like it a little more. Like Steven mentioned, is this a top 3 Porcupine Tree album all time? No, probably not even close. But this is a catalog that has mucho greatness. And so even if I were to, a month from now, to say this is the 5th or 6th best Porcupine Tree album ever, for a band that's been away as long as they have, that's pretty damn good. And I think that is something that we've all hinted at a little bit here, is that they've been away for a long time. How many bands that go away for a long time come back with an album and we're like, yeah, it's okay. Kind of sounds like them, but not quite the same as the old stuff, right? Very rarely that we get these long breaks for bands and they come back and they just knock it out of the park. And based on what I'm reading and hearing out there, I think most people think that this is a great return to form by this band. And it is. But we're ultimately going to compare it to a lot of greatness in a catalog that's full of pretty spectacular albums. And then Steven Wilson's great solo career. So I think it's really good. I think we have more listening to do personally. And maybe a couple months from now, we can say, now, what do we really think about this new Porcupine Tree album, right? Today, I think we're all enjoying it. Maybe some a little bit more than others here on this panel. But I think you really can't say anything bad about it or negative about it.
Well, I'm going to ask 2 questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
The first one is, what do we make of Walk the Plank? Because that's maybe the one song that I would go, well, I would have put a bonus track in here instead of that one. I can definitely live without that, 1, 2, 3. What's that all about? I mean, that's a
See,
very,
Eric, that was my fault. The droney beginning of Walk the Plank reminded me of something that would be on Insurrentes off his first record.
yeah,
Because it's got that feel. I thought I was talking about Heard Calling. I'm like, no, it's
Yeah.
Walk the Plank. It's
That
very
feels like a
droney.
Wilson
And
moment
that's what
to
he
me.
was kind of doing on Insurrentes, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I like it on headphones. There's a lot going on if you
Gavin's
listen-
good.
when you listen to that on headphones, but it's got that like electronica kind of thing, which
Yeah.
isn't really my thing. So I agree. I think, I didn't, Stephen, I don't know what your version has in terms of bonus tracks, but that was kind of one that I was like,
He was big
I
into
haven't heard
that
the
in
bonus
that time period, about 2008.
Yeah.
When he did his first solo record. There's a lot that's all over the place on that record.
So there are 3 bonus tracks. So you get the whole album as an instrumental piece, which as an idea I can take or leave. I've listened to it and enjoyed it. I've listened to it a couple of times like that, but I've probably listened to it a couple of times because it comes directly after the actual bonus tracks. Okay, so you've got Population 3, which I say that's an instrumental. I really like it. Then you've got Never Have, so it's kind of it's melodic. I would say it's kind of the sort of tones that you would have found on Dead Wing. It's more instant, it's more memorable. It feels like Porcupine Tree. I really, really like that. And then you've got Love in the Past Tense, and that brought me to my next question, because it opens with a bass line, that probably really thrumming, really in your face, really energetic, really like, and I'm going to sound like Lewis here, really like a guitar player playing bass. And that made me go back and listen to the album itself again, and made me listen to the bass work on it, and thought, wow, actually, that's quite different from what you would have got on a previous Porcupine Tree album. It is clear that it is not Edwin that's there. I hadn't really noticed it before, because he's much more reserved. There's much more, I would say, kind of a jazz influence in what he does, and he brings a different flavour when he's there. I'm maybe missing that too. It's maybe the way that the bass is played is maybe much more kind of there. It's always coming at you. It's not kind of doing this Colin Edwin thing. We can, what's he doing now?
maybe that's Beggs' influence too, because Beggs is always in your face as a bass player, and
Yeah.
then
That's a really good
Or maybe
point.
Wilson's trying to maybe he feels like he has something to prove with Colin not being there. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the theories that I've read are that they've done so much jamming and recording that they then felt it would be wrong to bring in somebody else and say, right, you do your thing. They kind of felt the songs were too far down the line. Whether that's true or not, who knows? Because it's been an elephant in the room more than anything else, isn't it? I think that it's been notable by its absence as a topic of conversation more than anything else.
Yeah.
That would be, I mean, if I was sitting down with any of them right now, it would be the first question I would ask and probably get thrown out.
Well, you know, what's another amazing thing about with Gavin, Stephen? Gavin basically went to another band to kind of like fill the void, and basically got a band that would never be able to ever tour the United States. Mm-hmm. And since he joined, they're actually able to have they've had 2 consecutive tours. That would have never happened.
They are one of the,
and he made them a better band.
Yeah, oh, well, undoubtedly. They are one of the very few bands, I can't on the top of my head think of any others, where the drummer is actually named he's the feature artist in that band when they tour in the States. They are the Pineapple Thief featuring Gavin Harrison. You don't do that, do you? That doesn't happen. Not unless it is like Bill Bruford going out and actually doing a tour. That's different.
Yeah, that might. Yeah, that would help.
You know, but over here, they're still the Pineapple Thief.
You know, it's funny when I think it was the last time when I played this again this morning, I happened to look at like the total runtime of this version that I have, and it's like 48 minutes or something like that. And I was thinking, that's kind of a little on the short side. And then Stephen, you're talking how so highly about these bonus tracks. And I'm like, because you know what they're going to do eventually. They're going to release another version with all the bonus tracks tacked onto this one. So you got to buy it again. And I'm like, man.
They have been pushing this hard, Peter. They really have. I mean, I was saying on last week's In the Prog Seat that we might have a prog rock #1 album in the UK. It got to #2.
Yeah.
You know, they got thwarted.
Harry Styles, right?
Yeah, good old Harry. but they have pushed it hard. I mean, there's an exclusive silver vinyl version over here in the UK. They were pushing the deluxe deluxe download to the people like me who'd bought the deluxe version, saying you can get it for a bit of a bonus price, or there's money off if you want to come and buy. So buy it twice, please buy it twice.
Yes.
You mean like this?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. There's guys like you. That's
The
right.
big thing, and
Exactly.
then go and buy it twice.
I have every version. Here we go. You got a whole armful of them, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but fair play to them. Why not? Do you know? I mean, how many chances are they going to get at doing that? I don't know. Will they get the same? I mean, they've been covered in like daily newspapers and like national newspapers over here in the UK. It's like, pardon? I don't even, how did you even know who this band were?
Now, don't forget when they went before they split for the incident. They the last gig they played in the United States was at Radio City Music Hall. Never thought that would ever happen.
Yeah.
Like with King Crimson, the same thing. They when I was at the same show Pete was at, they packed that place.
Sold out. Yeah. Yeah, sold out. So before we go, if everybody wants to give, I don't know if you want to rate it. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 star right now. That's what I'm going to give it. Stephen, what would you say?
Well, on the webzine, we can't give it 4.25, so I'm going to go 4.
Okay. Eric?
I think I would do 4 as well with this.
Anthony?
5.
Yeah,
I
knew that
love
was
it.
coming.
It hit me right away. I love it.
Cool.
Good. I'm so pleased that there are so many people that have that reaction to it.
Yeah. It's lived up to the billing and the hype, and they're back, folks. Closure continuation by Porcupine Tree. If you haven't checked it out yet, go ahead and do it. It's now available. And if you've heard it and you got an opinion on it, put it down there in the comments below. And if you haven't heard it yet, go out and check it out and report back when you get a chance, and let us know what you think. So stay tuned here. We got more new album reviews coming at you today. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube, all together.
All the damn time.
That's right. For Anthony Ferraro, Eric Porter, and Stephen Reid, I am Pete Pardo. See you real soon with more stuff. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.